Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 37 of the Willow Cove Crafts podcast, a podcast about knitting and sewing and my other crafty endeavors. My name is Emily, and you can find me on both Ravelry and Instagram as Willow Cove Crafts. Today is Saturday, October 8th, 2022, and I am coming to you from just outside of Madison in Verona, Wisconsin. It has been about 2 weeks since I last recorded. I am recording a little bit early this time around. I typically record on Sundays, and today is Saturday. I think I will probably still edit and upload this tomorrow. None of this means anything to any of you. We just have a few things going on this weekend, and I felt like it worked better with my schedule to record today. I don't know about any of you, but I am like a one thing a day type person. And so, like I said, I typically record on Sunday mornings. And so tomorrow is Sunday, but we have tickets to see a show tomorrow night. And the fact that we already have plans for tomorrow, even though they're in the evening, means that I simply cannot do both. I had to record today. I don't know if anyone else out there is like that, but I like to keep my schedule pretty simple, and having multiple events in a day is just too much for me. I think that is my introverted self talking, but yes, that literally is the only reason I'm recording early, is because we have plans Sunday night. And recording and editing a podcast on the same day is just not something that I'm ready to do. So I'm doing it today. I will probably film today and record tomorrow, or those are the same thing. I'll probably film today and edit and upload tomorrow. Just to break it up a little bit. But like I said, it's been about 2 weeks. Not much has been going on around here. Getting up, going to work, coming home, rinse and repeat. We've been out to eat a few times. We went to Madison. So if you ever visit Madison, there's this really great spot called Old Brick Gardens where, it's a garden, and every fall they put in light installations. And so I don't know if they're all local artists, but they're definitely all artists, and they do these light displays. And so we went to see that last weekend. That was pretty neat. And yes, like I said, tomorrow we have tickets to go see Nimesh Patel, who is a comedian. He's one of our favorite comedians. This will be our 4th time seeing him. The first time he opened for another comedian, and that's when we first heard of him. And then since then, we've gone to see him 3 times. He's very, very funny. So if you ever get the opportunity to go to see Nimesh Patel, I highly recommend. He's great. But yes, other than that, just getting a lot of crafting in. I'm just like really trying to settle in for the fall and winter. And, I definitely went to Starbucks this morning and got a pumpkin drink because I'm that type of person. And yes, really looking forward to Halloween and then heading into Thanksgiving and Christmas. I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I do really like this time of year. I love all of the holidays and get-togethers and seeing family and friends. And yes, just trying to make it as cozy and enjoyable as possible. So I've been rambling for a couple minutes at this point, so I think we can go ahead and get into the crafty bit. Today I have 1 finished object for you, 1 sewing work in progress, which I think I'm going to do first today, and then 2 knitting works in progress to share with you. So yes, let's go ahead and get started. First up today, I have a finished object, and you may have noticed that I am wearing it. So over the last week, I finished my Oslo hat by PetiteKnit. Here it is. I am really, really happy with it. So a couple characteristics about this hat. So it is knit out of a fingering weight yarn. I used Woolfolk Tynd or Tind, not quite sure how you pronounce that, in the color 27, very creatively named. And this again is a fingering weight, and it is 100% Ovis 21 Ultimate Merino wool. I have no idea what that means, but it is really, really soft. I mentioned this last time, the Woolfolk, I think a lot of us have heard of Woolfolk. It is quite pricey. So I do think, you know, making a small project like a hat out of it is a really good way to try out the yarn without completely breaking the bank. But yes, it is massively soft. And how it works is you hold the fingering weight yarn held double to make a DK weight. So I do think alternately you could probably knit this hat out of a DK weight yarn. You would just have to cut your yardage in half. And this hat has a deceptively large amount of knitting in it. So just to kind of give you an idea of the construction, my hair is crazy. I've been wearing this hat all morning and I feel like we're looking a little matted over here. Anyways, so the hat has a triple layered brim. So what you do, and I don't want to give too much away about the pattern, it is paid for, but this line right here is the cast on edge. So you cast on and you knit, 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 and then, you know, you knit on the inside, and then you do some turning inside out and folding to get a triple layered brim. It's a little bit mind-bending when you kind of read through the pattern, but it does produce a pretty nice hat. So you can imagine all of this plus this little extra, you know, that would kind of bring us down here. There's a good, I would say 12 to 15 inches of just stockinette in the round on this hat. So, you know, a hat, you kind of think, oh, a nice quick project. And the Oslo hat is not a quick project. There's a ton of knitting that goes into it. But I do think this is maybe my favorite hat I've ever knit. I feel like it looks, this is gonna sound weird, but I feel like it looks store-bought, like, and not everything we make has to look so professional that it looks like it's store-bought, but I feel like this is the type of hat that you could maybe buy, which is kind of a good thing sometimes. You know, you make something and it looks super professional and people can't believe that you made it. And I feel like this hat kind of falls into that bucket. It's very trendy. Ooh, ouch, I hit my hand on the door. It reminds me of those, what was that brand of hat that was super popular with the millennials a couple years ago? Maybe they're still popular. The Love Your Melon, is that a brand of hat? Anyways, it reminds me of that. It's that hat, they all had these like big labels on the front. I hope someone out there knows what I'm talking about. But this hat reminds me of that. I'm not going to put a big label on mine because I like to keep it clean and simple, but yes, it's wonderful. And then it's got some nice decreases. This all went very quickly. And yes, the pattern comes in 4 sizes. I believe they're labeled as child, junior, women, and men. That's all arbitrary. They each come with a size, so obviously you should make the size that corresponds with the wearer's head. And I made the women's size. The pattern calls for 150 grams of fingering weight, so I had 3 skeins of the Woolfolk yarn, and I maybe used about 2.5. So I didn't use a ton of that 3rd skein, so maybe something to keep in mind if you're trying to use up some leftovers or you're able to buy 25 gram skeins of fingering weight. I think you could probably get away with 125 grams instead of the 150 that's called for in the pattern. And yes, I'm trying to think of what else to say about this. Again, I just think it's a nice shape. Sometimes I make hats and I put them on and they just look weird on me. I feel like most people think they look a little weird in hats. I feel like I hear people say that all the time, but you put the hat on and you're like, huh, it's just not quite sitting correctly. But I really like this one. I think it suits me really well. I think the color is really nice on me. I feel like it makes my eyes look really cool. A little more. My eyes are kind of brown, hazily color, and I feel like it brings out the kind of golden tones in my eyes. Maybe that's just me. Anyways, really happy with how that turned out. I knit this in a little under 2 weeks. I knit it pretty monogamously because I needed the needles for another project that I will show you in a little bit. But yes, great hat. It's a super popular pattern. I'm sure you've all heard of it before. But I am really happy with the results. Next up is works in progress, and I do want to start with sewing today. I typically do knitting and then sewing, but I want to end the episode with a particular project today, and that will all make sense later. So I thought I would do sewing first and then talk about my knitting projects. I don't have much to say about sewing this week. I am still working on my square patchwork quilt for my bed, and I don't have much progress. I'm trying to work on it maybe 1 night a week. And so, that amounts to 2 to 3 hours of work a week, which isn't a ton of time. So I have been continuing to sew together my squares into groups of 2, and it's really hard to show you. So it's hard to hold up. So I will put a little insert here of my sewing table and where I am at with that project. So as you can see, not a massive difference between this time and last time. I have sewn together more squares. You may remember last time that I said that I had cut out 1,020 squares for that quilt. And so now I'm pairing them together, and pairing together 1,020 squares takes a while. I was really excited when I finished cutting out the fabric, and I was like, this quilt top's just gonna whip up so quickly. And that is a lot of seaming. I kind of want to calculate how many like inches worth of seams are in that quilt. I think it would be pretty easy to calculate out because it's just all squares and straight lines, but I bet it's a lot of inches worth of seamings. There's fluff flying everywhere. But yeah, slowly working away on that. I don't think I've mentioned yet, but I am using some fabric that I purchased from Lo and Behold Stitchery, which is a really great little fabric shop, and she also has some really wonderful patterns, so I would definitely go check out that website if you're interested. I'm not sponsored in any way. I'm just a really big fan of, I believe the owner's name is Brittany. I really like her work, so definitely go check that out. And yeah, slow but steady progress. Again, I'm gonna try and work on that, you know, one night a week after work, and eventually it will get done. My plan is to sew all of my horizontal strips together. So like I've got groups of 2 now, and then I'll do groups of 4, groups of 8 to get my horizontal strips sewn together, and then I will join the strips vertically. So pretty standard quilt construction. I am doing all of my squares I cut are 3.5 inches, and so as they're sewn together and some of that gets lost into the seam allowance, I will end up with 3-inch squares. It's gonna be a queen size quilt. I think I calculated it would be 90 by 102 inches when it was done. So it's a pretty sizable quilt. And yes, I'm really enjoying working on it, but it is kind of on the back burner. Not the back burner, I'm still trying to work on it a little bit each week, but it's definitely not my priority at the moment. So more to come on that, slowly but surely. On to knitting works in progress. I have 2 projects to show you today. One I have shown before, one is brand new. So I will start with the one you've perhaps seen before. I have continued to put a little bit of work into my Cargill sweater by Crea Designs. That is Rebecca. This was a test knit that I did and failed miserably at. I was able to knit maybe half of the sweater by the test knit deadline, and at this point the pattern has been released. You can go purchase the Cargill pattern on Ravelry. And now that Rebecca no longer needs my feedback, I'm just trying not to rush this and just working on this here and there. Again, this week I really focused on finishing up my hat, and this one I kind of worked on in between, or when I wanted a break or something a little bit more interesting. So anyways, here's where I'm at. So since last time, and I have a marker here, I was maybe about halfway down the first sleeve, and I have since finished the first sleeve. And that is about it. I joined the yarn again to start working on the body a little bit more, but I've maybe put 1 row in on the body. So most of the work has been on the sleeve. I really like the sleeves on this sweater because they have like a little slight puff. I wouldn't call this a balloon sleeve because it's not as dramatic as some other sleeves I've seen, but it does have a little cute bit of volume at the wrist. And I think that is a really nice detail. So I've been showing this for the last couple of episodes, but the Cargill sweater is this all over dip stitch pattern that is used almost like a ribbing. And I think that this sweater fits really nicely because that ribbing kind of, you know, it can expand to fit, and it can also kind of cinch in to fit a little bit. So it just kind of hugs you really nicely. And yes, I think this sweater looks great on all types of bodies. I think all of the testers that finished this sweater look amazing in their sweaters. It's truly a special design. So again, you can go purchase this pattern now. It has been released and I find it very enjoyable to knit. It's a 4-row repeat, really easy to memorize, and you feel a small sense of accomplishment every time you finish a repeat, and that just kind of keeps you going. The yarn I am using is 2 types of yarn from Emilia and Philomene. The first one is their 100% merino fingering base, which is called Josephine. And the second one is their 72% mohair, 28% silk lace weight, and this is the Leona base. Both of these are in the Tiffany colorway. Every time I talk about this yarn, I'm like, that is a lot of females. Emilia, Philomene, Josephine, Leona, Tiffany. There's all these like names. But yes, this is a just really beautiful hand-dyed yarn. Definitely one of my most prized sweater quantities in my stash, and I am really glad I got to use it on such a special pattern. I think every week I hold it up and I love this pattern. I love this sweater. I'm so excited to finish it and wear it. It goes really nice with my hat. So yes, I think I am knitting the size 6, I want to say. I do not remember what the bust circumference is of that size, but it is, it doesn't have a ton of positive ease, so I think that's probably a 46, 47. The pattern comes in 11 sizes, so I'm kind of right in the middle, so it's pretty size inclusive in that regards. And yes, not much else to say about this because I have shown it so many times on the podcast. But yes, slowly trucking away on that one. And this is definitely, I don't know if you could hear that, super loud engine. This is gonna be kind of my secondary project at the moment. It's not going into hibernation. I'm trying really, really hard to actually finish the projects I start, but it is kind of on reserve while I knit on my next project, which I will show you now. So my next work in progress is a new cast on, and I talked about this a little bit last time, but I am participating in the West Knits Mystery Knit Along for 2022. This is his Twists and Turns shawl, and I talked about this a bit more in the last episode, but I really love the West Knits Mystery Knit Along. I find it just purely delightful, even though West Knit shawls are not always my style preference, but I do really like to participate. So I am making this as a gift for someone. I am not going to say who. But yes, this will be a Christmas gift. And so this is the last project I'm going to talk about. I wanted to put this at the end, so in case you don't want any spoilers, you can kind of stop and you won't miss anything after that. This will be the last thing I talk about. So I will go ahead and show my yarn first, and then I will give a big warning before I show my progress and talk about the pattern. So again, if you don't want any spoilers, you can stop there and you won't miss anything after that. So my yarns, let's start there. So all of these came from my stash, which is really nice. I have a lot of stash yarn that I bought like in my early 20s that I don't always know what to do with because it's not really my taste anymore. But that's a lot of yarn for future West Knits mystery knit-alongs. So I was really happy to go like digging in my stash and find some yarns that I thought worked really well together. And I'm really excited about my choices. So my first two yarns are Hedgehog Fibres in their twist sock base, which is 80% Blueface Leicester wool and 20% nylon. And this is my main color and my contrast color in the shawl. So my main color, again, Hedgehog Fibres, is this, which is the Pheasant colorway. And I think this yarn is like really, really pretty. It is a variegated yarn, but it's very subtle. And so I do feel like when you look at it, it just reads, you know, this kind of red burgundy color, but close up, it's got like little flecks of brown and orange and all these different shades of red and pink. I am really enjoying working with this. Yeah, I really like that overall it reads a single color, but then when you like really get close up, it's very complex. My contrast color for the pattern is also the twist sock in the teacup colorway, which is this like creamy, it is cream. I think this color, it's not really showing up on the camera, but it almost reads like a really light pink, but that is just the speckles. So it's this creamy base with all these like brown and pink speckly bits. Really pretty. And then my accent color, excuse me, my accent color is MadelineTosh, Tosh Merino Light. This is a 100% superwash merino single ply yarn in the Spicewood colorway. So here is that yarn. A nice kind of burnt orange color, also very tonal. And so together, here are my colors. They also go really well with my hat. But again, this is going to be a present, so I will have to give this away when I am done. But I really like these colors, and I think the recipient will also really, really like this color palette. So anyways, those are my yarns. So at this point, I am going to show my progress. So if you do not want any spoilers, I will see you later. Get out of here. All right, are you gone? All right, so clue 1 was released on Thursday, so 2 days ago, and there will be a total of 4 clues. So we are right at the beginning, and this section, so there's one section in clue 1. So if you're familiar with the mystery knit along, there's often several sections. I feel like the mystery knit alongs are usually kind of modular is not the right word, but there's like distinct parts of the shawl. And a single clue can sometimes have multiple sections in it anyways. The first clue had one section in it, and it's called chevrons. And I'm going to show you where I'm at. So here we go. So it only uses the main color and the contrast color. So no pops of that orange yet. Now, I would like to talk about my thought process with this. I really like, when I'm doing the mystery knit along, what I like to do and how I like to do it. So you get the pattern, there's written instructions, but then Stephen West also does these really great YouTube videos where he walks you through the whole clue. And I find that very helpful, especially when you don't know what it looks like and you've never seen any sort of like picture or visual of what the pattern looks like. Sometimes, like, even if you're like really confident with reading a pattern, there are moments where I like question myself and I'm like, am I doing this correctly? And so I will try and work from the pattern as much as I can. And then every couple rows, I will go watch the YouTube video up to that point, more as a validation to myself to know that I am doing things correctly. And I try not to look ahead. I really, really like to be completely surprised. And so I try to like just follow through line by line and not look ahead. I kind of did this time because I was really curious about something. And that is these holes here. So I will be honest and say that at first I was not a huge fan of the holes. I'm not a big fan, and Stephen West uses big holes as a design element pretty frequently, and it's not my favorite. I feel like it works sometimes, but I don't like having these big gaping holes in my knitwear, and like this is definitely a big gaping hole. However, when we're done knitting this section, I'm gonna do this real quick on one of these. You are supposed to take these like horizontal bars and twist them together, not even twist, loop them together to do what I think is maybe the most amazing thing I have ever seen in a knitting pattern. Here, I'm getting one done and then I will show you. Just to give you an idea of what the heck we're doing over here. I'm messing up. Are you ready? You're supposed to loop them together like this to make what is essentially a column of extra jumbo large knit stitches. When I saw that, it was like absolutely mind-blowing. Someone commented or like chatted me on Instagram and they were like, it's like a magic trick. And I was like, yes. That is the perfect way to phrase it. Anyways, that in and of itself, that technique has like made the whole shawl for me. I was like so delighted when I saw that and never would have like, I've never seen that before. I didn't know that that was a thing you could even do. And yeah, it was like one of those things where I read it and I was like, what? What are we doing? And then I watched the video and I was like, what? Anyways, I don't know if anyone else felt that way. It's pretty cool. That being said, this is super tedious to knit. You have to like cast on and bind off to make all of these little ladders. And it is kind of a pain in the butt to knit. It's getting better. I'm in like a little bit more of a groove with it, but it's not my favorite thing to physically knit. I will say that. I'm really hoping that clue 2 is a little bit more, I don't want to say say like easy, like this isn't hard. It's just like, it's very tedious. There's a lot of counting. I feel like I have to really pay attention to it. Otherwise I will get off on my stitch count or forget to do something or what have you. So it's a pretty big section. There's gonna end up being, I think, like 14 contrast color stripes. So for me, that's the white. So there's gonna end up being 14. So I'm on 4. So I've got quite a ways to go. And yeah, you're just making all of these, like the chevrons, which look really cool. Stephen West is a big chevron guy. And then yeah, making these ladders so that you could do your fun little knitted braid up the front. And then yes, there will be five of those knitted braids. And that's clue 1. So a mix of emotions, definitely. Simultaneously thinking that this is the coolest thing I've ever seen, and also thinking that this is the most annoying thing I've ever knit. So yes, knowing that, ooh, I just hit my camera. Knowing that it's just one section and that next week we will move on to something new is what is getting me through. If the whole shawl was like this, I would probably not be enjoying myself very much, but super fun. Already really amazed. I mean, I'm always amazed at Stephen West's creativity, but this one like really took the cake, I gotta say. So I am gonna try really hard to keep up with this knit along. I already don't think I'm gonna finish clue 1 on time. Again, it's just like so tedious and it's taking me so long to knit through. But this is going to be like kind of my monogamous project until I get caught up. And then, you know, if I get caught up and the next clue isn't released, then my plan is to work on my Cargill in between. But I do really want to focus on this and get it done. And then I'll have a Christmas present done and out of the way, which will be amazing. So yes, really enjoying the mystery knit along this year. Maybe more so than I have in the past. Those knitted braids. Please let me know that I am not the only one who is just like absolutely amazed by that technique. Anyways, yes, I think that is it for me today. Like I said, just a handful of projects on the go. I'm trying really hard to limit myself to 1 sewing project and 2 knitting projects and to like finish things and get through things. So yeah, I think I will be speaking to you again in 3 weeks this time. I try to podcast every 2 weeks, but 2 weekends from now we will be out of town, and so I will not be able to record. So I will chat with you again in 3 weeks. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe. If you liked this video today, leave it a thumbs up, a comment. All of those things really help to boost my channel and expose it to more people out there in the YouTube universe. And yes, thank you so much for watching today, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.